Wallace. I'm back again with more questions. So I've been thinking a lot about what we said in our last conversation and how we were talking about the ego that's not a competition, but the ego in terms of the ego working alongside your internal guidance, your spiritual or your inner guidance, as I think you named it. And I've been trying to put that into action, and I think it's fantastic. It's really been working for me so far. I've only had one major opportunity to put it into practice, but it's really working for me. And it got me to thinking about why I want to develop myself spiritually. And I thought about the why, and I thought, well, my belief has always been that if you develop yourself in every way possible as a person, and you evolve as a person and you grow, the most important way possibly, in my opinion, is spiritually. So I'm kind of finding myself on this spiritual journey, and I'm really enjoying it. But it got me to thinking about the meaning of life. I know this is a very big question, but my idea of the meaning of life is that what I just said, is to develop yourself in every direction, in every way you can, and be the best version of you that you can be on. We only get one life. So then that got me thinking about you and what you thought. So my question today is, Wallace, what is the meaning of life?
If we look at nature, nature is a spiritual law running through it.
Yeah.
Spiritual law gives rise to everything natural. So if we look at a tree, we see a tree wants to reach, there's a tree in the garden, it wants to reach for the most possible light.
Mm-hmm.
It grows to fulfill its potential, right?
Yeah.
And if we think of anything in nature, think of the fox that we talked about last time. The fox wants to look after its family of cubs and reproduce itself, and if possible, create more foxes for the world. And that's the nature of everything in nature, is to fulfill its potential.
Yeah.
So the question for us as human beings is, what does that mean for a human being to fulfill their potential? Now, a human being is fundamentally different from anything else on the planet, and in a good way, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're different because we've evolved this huge brain and this amazing caring heart, right?
Mm-hmm.
And those are key aspects of what it means to be human, is to be possessors of this brain and this heart. But have you ever seen the operating manual?
No.
When you went through school, through education, were you given the operating manual for your brain and your heart?
No. Bar SPHE, where you're told to look after your heart, and your heart is a muscle, and the food pyramid. But no operating system.
Right.
No operating
So we've
manual.
been born with this tremendous capacity, and we've never learned the operating system. That is the tragedy of humanity, right there. So, as a spiritual teacher, my job is to give you the operating system, right?
Mm-hmm.
The book that allows you to live at your fullest potential.
Okay.
Now, so the question then becomes, how can you live at your potential, right? Now, I had a niece there who was going to learn to drive, and she got stressed over it, she got anxious, she thought, I'm never going to pass this, all these thoughts were going in her head.
Like many of us.
Yeah, like many of us.
Facing a big test or
facing any
something,
test. Yeah. So, in that instance, what was happening to her is that her intelligence, her brain, her incredible capacity that she had, it was turning against her and working against her passing that driving test. Because when she got into the car to drive the car, she wasn't paying full attention to the driving instructor,
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't coordinating her moves with grace, so the car would conk out.
Yeah.
So what she was doing was worrying and stressing about what might happen, right? Now, in that case, she was not using her intelligence to drive the car and to learn to drive the car. Her intelligence had turned against her.
Yes.
And mitigated against her driving the car.
She was overthinking it.
She was overthinking it,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, and that's the tragedy of humanity, that for most people are suffering this life. They're not exuberant, they're not full of joy and
energy.
And you know something, when you're full of joy and energy, you never ask the question,
why am I full of joy and energy?
You never ask the question, what is the meaning of life?
Okay.
When you're full, it's actually only people who aren't exuberant in their life ask that question.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Because they know they need something.
They know there's
lack.
more.
They know there's more. But if you're living the more, then you never ask that question. So it's very, very important that you, Elisa, and everyone else learns how to be exuberant, how to live with joy, how to live with passion, how to live a successful, exuberant life, right?
Okay.
So to do that, you need to have the manual to the operating system.
Are you going to give me this manual, Wallace?
Yes.
The operating manual.
As a spiritual teacher, my job is to give you the manual to yourself, so you know how to operate yourself, because you cannot control your life. What goes on around you, you cannot control.
Cannot control it. It's happening.
But what happens within you must happen the way you want it to happen. Isn't that right?
So it's not what's happening outside you, it's how you control your reaction to what's happening outside of you.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
And
I
you've
like
already started in that a little bit with
I'm
me.
on my journey.
Yeah. So the meaning of life then is to have the entirety of what happens within you happen the way you want.
Mm-hmm.
Because the way you want, any human being wants the same thing. They want to feel joy.
Yes.
They want to feel exuberance. They want to feel happiness.
Energy.
They want to feel energy and power in a good way in this world, right?
Yeah.
And to be self-expressed,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Very
And all
much
those
so.
things, every human being not only wants that, but needs that to be healthy and happy. So the meaning of life will be answered for you when you no longer seek that question.
Okay.
Because you are living at your fullest possible potential. So that question doesn't arise.
It doesn't matter to me.
It doesn't matter to you.
Perfect. Thank you. I really liked that answer.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Wallace.